Hey everyone, welcome back to Politiclul. Thanks for all the support, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Here we go. 2020 has been the year of the unexpected in politics, creating many issues no one could have guessed we would be discussing only a short time before the election. Among these, President Trump's response to a worldwide pandemic created by the Chinese Communist Party, the widespread cultural, corporate, and political support of Antifa, a movement that harbors people who openly call for the abolition of private property, encourage the murdering of police officers, and provide logistical support to rioters and looters. No, Joe, Antifa is not an idea. But the most surprising issue being discussed this election is the leftist proposal of adding more justices, or in other words, packing the Supreme Court. If we rewind the clock a few years, the idea of packing the Supreme Court was a deeply, deeply unpopular idea. Even Joe Biden opposed court packing, a surprisingly fortuitous position for a man who has been on the wrong side of history on so many issues. Listen, changing the foundations of the Supreme Court in order to benefit your political party is anathema to the ideal of a free and independent system of courts. The framers created a third and co-equal judicial branch to be a check on the powers of the executive and legislature. All citizens are to be equal in the eyes of the law. This is why the symbolism of Lady Justice is so important. The judiciary is supposed to be blind to the biases of politics, race, and wealth. The scales giving equal weight to both parties before the court, and the sword, a solemn recognition of the court's authority, its decisions being final. While many aspects of civic life have grown increasingly contentious, the idea of a free, fair, and independent judiciary was something almost all Americans could agree on. When courts became dependent on partisanship, not only does that court's decisions cease to hold credibility, but the entire structure of government fails to hold credibility. There are zero doubts of the virtues of a fair and independent court system. But now, Democrats want to throw all of that out the window. With the unfortunate passing of Justice Ginsburg, there is now an open seat on the Supreme Court with only a couple weeks to go until the election. President Trump has sent a well-qualified nominee, Judge Barrett, to the Senate for their consideration. This is his constitutional obligation. Now it is the Senate's turn to fulfill their constitutional obligation. That is, to either consent to the president's choice or reject it. That's how this works. But the Democrats are calling hypocrisy due to Mitch McConnell's decision back in 2016 to not give President Obama's nominee a hearing or a vote on the floor of the Senate. He told voters the reason for this was due to the nomination's proximity to the election. Before we talk about what really matters, let's talk about Mitch McConnell's messaging. In 2016, he said Obama's nominee, Judge Garland, would not be considered due to the election only being months away at the time of Scalia's passing. Now in 2020, the Republicans are confirming Judge Barrett with only a couple weeks to spare before the election. This messaging is obviously hypocritical. However, Mitch's actions, which are far more important than his messaging, are the furthest thing from being hypocritical. In terms of the checks and balances established in the Constitution, the Senate Republicans, whose constitutional role is to give or withhold their consent, had every right to deny President Obama his nominee. In 2016, the Senate Republicans had the votes, and the Democrats did not. Republicans were elected to a majority in 2014, re-elected in 2016, and after confirming Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, saw their majority expand in 2018. The American people spoke, and they approved of the Senate Republicans' actions. Now in 2020, the Republicans still have the majority, which is why Judge Barrett will be confirmed. While Senate Republicans are far from being saints, they at least are legislating based on the results of elections, compared to the Democrats who are trying to supersede election results. With regards to the process of nominating and confirming justices to the Supreme Court, the Senate Republicans didn't do anything illegal or immoral in 2016, 2018, or now in 2020. Please allow me to repeat myself. The Senate's constitutional role is to provide or deny consent to a president's nominee, a necessary check on the power of the president. If the Senate does not like a nominee, for any reason whatsoever, they will not confirm that nominee. The Senate majority did not support President Obama's nominee in 2016, but have supported all three of President Trump's nominees, which is why they have been, and will be, confirmed. The Democrats have no one to blame for this but themselves. If they wanted to block President Trump's nominees to the Supreme Court, they should have won their elections. Instead of winning elections, the Democrats want to change the rules by adding partisan justices to the Supreme Court, fundamentally changing our system of checks and balances and subverting the electoral process in order to fulfill their agenda. Justice Ginsburg will be remembered as a heroine in the fight against gender and racial discrimination. Her death is tragic, and she should be commended for her service to this country. But her dying wish, asking the powers that be to wait for the next president, whoever that may be, to fill her seat, is, to quote Joe Biden, a bunch of malarkey. RBG did not own her seat on the Supreme Court. It was never hers, nor will it ever be her replacement's. The left's idea that RBG somehow had any say in choosing her replacement exemplifies how Democrats and the radical left view the court. They don't see it as a co-equal check on the powers of Congress and the president. No. The Democrats and radical left view the court as an obstruction to achieving their political agenda. Ask yourself, why would the left be worried about the Supreme Court getting in the way of their ambitions? The only way the Supreme Court could stand in the way of a party's political agenda would be if it's, unconstitutional? But that's not how Democrats see it. All they see are 5, soon to be 6, Republican-appointed justices versus 3 Democratic-appointed justices. They view the court through the prism of politics instead of its intended mission of upholding the law and defending the Constitution. And with the prospect of a 6th Republican-appointed justice being added, the Democrats are freaking out. They think this court will act politically, picking and choosing Democratic laws at will to strike down. The left sees a Supreme Court hell-bent on destroying the world the left is trying to build, when in reality, these justices are simply trying to uphold the original intent or the values of the Constitution. Their decisions are not made based on the political agendas of the Democrats or the Republicans. Sure, politicians can think they're nudging the Supreme Court to their benefit based on who they confirm to the bench, but fortunately for the country, this does not buy either party loyalty. And politicians on both sides are mistaken when they think that the current justices will dole out legal victories or defeats based on the party that confirmed them to the bench. Perhaps I'm naive because I don't think these justices are political beings. They are legal scholars, judges, and teachers. The justices of the Supreme Court are, for lack of a better phrase, giant nerds. While they certainly had to play the politics of the moment in order to become justices, had they really wanted to play the political game, they would have devoted their careers to running for office instead of spending their time in the courtroom or classroom. They certainly had the educational credentials to get a jump start in the political sphere as well. Thus, I reject the notion that any of the justices intend to play politics with their decisions. And that's the Democrats' problem. They want to add partisan justices that will make decisions based on politics, not judicial philosophy. If the Democrats get their way, the Supreme Court would cease to hold any legitimacy whatsoever. The court would be one step closer to becoming a rubber stamp for a radical leftist movement. A movement that would rather implement its agenda through the destruction of the judiciary, rather than implementing their policies the way it was supposed to be done: winning elections. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my second video. Please go check out my first one if you haven't seen it yet. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. Post out.